The fact that Akron game got canceled makes this a much nicer spot for the Buffs. Colorado had 596 yards last game against Colorado State, and they should be able to put some points up here. We know how good of a coach that Scott Frost is, but it's way too early for such a huge impact to be made here, in my opinion. Like we said before, I don't like Colorado's returning production, only ranked 123rd in the NCAA. But I do like the fact that they still have consistency in their quarterback, Steven Montez. So consistency is key. They're looking to make a comeback this year. Nebraska has a true freshman at the helm, Adrian Martinez. So Colorado should cover 4.5 and could be worth a money line sprinkle. Georgia Southern minus 2.5 for 1 unit. I really like the way Georgia Southern finished last year after a terrible start. But what I really like is that they're third in returning production at 90%. See, after week 1, you look a little bit in week 1 on what happened. You look a lot on what kind of production they returned. Fast, slow, passing, running, whatever they're doing against the spread. It's kind of important to factor in a lot more what they did last year than necessary this first week. So I have Georgia Southern here power rated by 3.5. So that's a key number. So I'm going to take this below the key number here at 2.5. Arkansas minus 12 for 1 unit. Is it wrong to keep fading Colorado State here? Arkansas has got new life after hiring coach Chad Morris, and Mike Bobo had such a terrible start this year, working with his brand new team, brand new players, 130th in returning production, ranks dead last in the NCAA. Power rating has this game by about 17 points. Arkansas minus 12 all the way. Agree with Sharps. I'll go with SEC here. Arkansas State at Alabama. Now, Alabama has been consistent at one thing over the past 5 or 6 years. They blow out SEC teams. They blow out Power 5 schools, but they're very nice and relaxed against smaller schools. Kind of like they feel like they're their big brother or something in a way. So I'm going with that narrative again. The power ratings actually say Alabama by more like 30 points, but Arkansas State could get in trouble. Not a big play, 1 unit. Penn State minus 7.5 at Pittsburgh. Now, this is kind of a rivalry game, but this was a big scare against Appalachian State that Penn State just had, and there's no way that James Franklin and Tracy McSorley is going to let the worst team in the ACC beat them. I mean, who's the worst team in the ACC? Them or Virginia, right? I don't know. Georgia Tech. So Pittsburgh is not supposed to be good this year. Penn State's supposed to be way better. This is a 12-point power rating, and I kind of like the 7.5 here, so I'm taking Penn State minus 7.5 here. James Franklin gets it done. South Carolina, plus 14. Now, I think it's down to plus 9.5. I took this one early, I got to admit. But the power rating still had this game at plus 7, so I like this all the way to plus 7. I threw a couple units on it back in June. Now, it's still play for me at plus 7. Georgia lost quite a few players from last year. And, Samuel's a beast of a receiver. Debo Samuel is a beast of a quarterback. And, I think the Gamecocks keep it close. Do you remember that game they had against Clemson last year when they got embarrassed? They're a better team now. They keep this one close, plus 7 points. I'm taking South Carolina. Liberty, plus 10 and money line sprinkle against Arkansas here. So, Liberty played a very seasoned Old Dominion team, right? Hard to see what they were. It's their first year going from FBS to FCS, or FCS to FBS here, right? They kicked the living shit out of them. 52-10. Okay? Army has a very tough break by having to play a great Duke team, but they returned some very low production, and they got their asses kicked. Liberty being in the FCS all these years, play with a lot of triple option teams, you know? And so because of that, they're used to it. They should be ready to hold off Army and at least cover the 10 points. But I think Liberty wins this outright. I'm taking Liberty plus 10 with a money line sprinkle. A couple units on the spread, and definitely a half to 1 unit on the money line. The next game we're going to quick talk about, Baylor minus 14.5 against Texas San Antonio. Baylor's poised to have a great year after a horrible one last year. I love coaches in their second year, especially when they are motivated. Matt Rule has 88% returning production. This team should be able to easily handle one of the worst teams in football. This is a power ratings play. I have Baylor by 18 points. I'll take Baylor minus 14.5 here. And Eastern Michigan versus Purdue. Over 55 points. Purdue plays fast. Many times they have no huddle. Rondale Moore, that we saw last game, might have 300 yards. All right. Eastern Michigan does not have a good defense. Purdue is looking for a big W here. I like this game to go over 55 points. Purdue's, I think I can see this game being like 45-21, 52-14, something like that. So, the way Purdue plays, Jeff Brom offense, I'm taking the over 55 points here. Now quickly to move on to the NFL, and I can get along with my vacation here. Tennessee versus Miami. I'm going under 45 points here, okay? We have 3 NFL plays for you guys. Both teams had terrible offenses last year, right? Miami averages 17 points per game, and the Titans averaged about 21. Now Miami loses their top receiver, Jarvis Landry. Last year they traded Ajayi away. Ryan Tannehill is just as bad as Cutler, or worse, in my opinion. But on the other hand, their defenses were kind of in the middle last year. I think there is some value because Tennessee is a rushing team. They have a defensive-minded coach in Mike Vrabel. They're going to try to control this game and be very careful. I'm liking this game under 45 points. Next game, I'm going to do Chicago versus Green Bay. The Bears have a top 10 defense from last year. Green Bay doesn't. Green Bay has linebacker problems. They got rid of their best receiver, Jordy Nelson. Don't get me wrong. Devontae Adams is awesome, and he's going to be awesome this year. But I think the Bears with Khalil Mack, Floyd, I think they have a scare tactic now into possibly putting Rodgers in some bad situations. And I think just the addition of Mack shows these players it's time to step it up this game. I like Chicago covering this 7.5. I got the Bears possibly losing by about 6 points, not 7.5. The last game, Kansas City versus San Diego. All right, so San Diego's favored by 3.5 points here. I do not like what Kansas City did by getting rid of their quarterback, Smith. He was the second highest quarterback rating last year, didn't turn the ball over, threw over 4,000 yards, and they got rid of him. And now you have Mahomes, which is extremely green. As you saw in the preseason and last year, how terrible Kansas City's defense was. They didn't do anything really to help that from last year. And you have San Diego's awesome pass rush with Joey Bosa. Are you telling me that on a neutral field that San Diego's only a better than them by a half a point with Philip Rivers as their quarterback? No, I'm not buying that. I like San Diego by at least 7 points here, possibly 10. San Diego minus 3.5 at home against Kansas City. Everyone, best of luck this weekend. Enjoy the games. Feel free to tweet us at the Odds Breakers. Get out there. Go make some money.